Hello everyone, Fargle here again for episode 4. This is right after we've settled Utrecht. It's me doing the post-recording again, because again, episode 4 is one of the episodes with the unusable audio. People have been saying to me that even the re-recorded audio isn't quite right, so I've turned up the gain on my microphone a lot. Hopefully this will do the job. And we're at this point in the game, we're taking towards education. It's they want to get you your next science building. Your first science building is obviously the library, which is unlocked at writing. Then the next one is the university, unlocked at education. And the universities at education are the first ones to give you great scientist specialist slots. So if you want to generate a bunch of great scientists, you need to get your universities going. Here we're just a little bit of scouting around here. We don't do much more of that, to be honest. And a lot of you can see here we've been sending the workers over to hook up the road networks between the cities. The road networks between cities. Yes, okay. When you create an unbroken line of roads between your cities and your capital, that creates what's known or an unbroken line of roads or a harbour connection. So they also creates what's known as a city connection. And city connection gives you a little extra gold. Based on, now I forget the exact formula, but it's based on the population of your cities. So it's the rule of thumb is if you're building a road, you want since roads cost you 1 gold per turn to put down, the rule of thumb is you'll make roughly 1 gold per population point in the city you hook up. It varies slightly. It's actually slightly more than that. But if you follow that rule of thumb, and unless you really need it for unit mobility, you don't ever connect any cities that have less population than it would take number of road tiles to connect them. You'll never have to worry about losing money on your roads. So that's it. We've annexed Boston. Boston previously was puppeted. Now it's come out of resistance. We've annexed it directly. We get a little extra unhappiness from that, and that extra unhappiness from having an annexed city will not go away until we build a courthouse in Boston. But since we've annexed it, we can now actually directly control what it does, rather than it being automatically set to gold focus. Choosing its own buildings, puppeted cities. They choose their own buildings. The way they use their tiles is always set to gold focus, and they will. Yeah, you get a penalty to their culture and science yields. The yields you get from those cities is always considerably less. So that's us spreading our religion around, obviously. Very useful. Our religion ends up doing okay in this game. A lot of the time when you're playing on the higher difficulties, in fact, most times when you're playing on the higher difficulties, unless you get a start that's really, really good for generating a lot of extra faith, you will find yourself really struggling to have your religion gain any sort of traction, because the AIs get such large bonuses to everything, and they will just outmuscle you. They will, because you as the player will have better uses for your faith than just generally spamming out missionaries everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. The AIs don't care, and they will just pour it all into missionaries and just spam them everywhere they possibly can, and it's just, yeah. So you will have a hard time keeping your religion. Sometimes even in your own cities on the highest difficulties. But we did okay in this game. It's nice. Amsterdam, you can see here working the writer and artist guild. That's the part of Brave New World's culture mechanics. That's how you generate artists and writers in Brave New World rather than through individual culture buildings, like in the vanilla and Gods and Kings. Now that the war's over, it's actually we end up sending our caravan to Washington for. We're sending it to Cape Town now, but over the course of time, as the trade route becomes more valuable, the traders sell to Washington. That caravan that we got from Petra just ends up going to Washington for most of the game. We're getting sea-based trade routes going. Sea-based trade routes, they can go twice as far, and they earn you twice as much money, but they obviously they're a lot harder to protect. But generally, if you want to do a trade-heavy game, you're going to want to make your main trading hub a coastal city. You want a coastal trading hub. Here we're exploring around now. The triremes can't go into the deep water, the darker water tiles there that you see. Those are ocean tiles. Triremes cannot enter those unless those ocean tiles are in your own borders or you're playing as Polynesia. A trireme cannot enter into ocean tiles. Here, somebody's entered the Renaissance, so you get a spy. The first time anybody enters the Renaissance, everyone gets a spy. And then every time, from then on, every time each player advances to a new era, they get another spy. Only the first spy slot is unlocked globally. And that happens when the first player enters the Renaissance. You can see we can repair the damaged stuff that was around Boston. Those are the tiles we pillaged during the attack. And I noticed there I didn't tell Boston to immediately make the courthouse. That was a mistake on my part, looking back on that. That's... Oh dear. Sloppy play, Farkle. Sloppy play. There you can see that's exploring Antananarivo. Antananarivo, of course, in real life is the capital city of Madagascar. A civilization which I would actually very much like to see in Civ 6. Madagascar would be a very cool addition to the game. Lots of interesting stuff going on down there. It's also that Madagascar is something that's shown up recently in Civ Fanatics discussions on who might appear in Civ 6 because they've had a few very famous queens, and Firaxis often takes particular effort to include female rulers from throughout history in the game, rather than just always defaulting to famous men. And, good on them for that. The obvious exception to this, of course, being when they included Maria I of Portugal here in Civ 5. That was incredibly insulting to the Portuguese. Don't put someone who was literally known for how insane she was. And I don't mean insane I mean insane in the very sort of old-fashioned hysterical shrieking kind of way. She was a very, very ill woman, and the fact that Firaxis, including her in the game, got a lot of people who aren't Portuguese to learn about her history, which, okay, points for that, but at the same time, having her as the representation of the civilization was, yeah. Not a good thing. But there we signed a research agreement with Pakal. You spend research agreements once one of you has discovered education. You can get research agreements. You spend both of you spend a bunch of gold, and after a certain amount of time passes, which depends on how long that amount of time is, depends on the game speed. You both get a big boost to your science. So you can see here that's me pointing out the border colors that we know that that's Ethiopia there, even before we met them, because we know the border colors, and we discussed earlier in the game, we knew that because one of the civilizations on the map founded Eastern Orthodoxy, and we already know Russia's there and that they didn't find it, we know then that it's Haile Selassie of Ethiopia, or Alexander of Greece, or Theodora of Byzantium. Turned out to be Haile Selassie. You can tell who's in the game by what religions get picked first. A lot of the time, because like some of the religions only have like one or two civilizations that choose them as the first choice. We started building the Angkor Wat in Amsterdam just for a laugh, because you normally never build it because it's a pretty useless wonder. It makes your borders grow faster, and it's not worth the hammers generally. Started building for a laugh, and he said, no, even for a laugh, it's really not worth spending that much production on it. We can make better use out of our time. It's Ethiopia's city of Adwa there. That's the Sripada, which is a famous mountain in Sri Lanka. Is it? Okay, it's either in Sri Lanka or it's in the southern tip of India. I can't remember offhand if it's actually on the island or if it's on the other side of the bay. On the actual mainland. I'll have to look that up. There we spend great hours for great work. A little bit of culture and tourism. Killed one of that's Hiawatha showing up with his defeat screen there. His defeated screen was that's because we killed one of his spies. And it's pretty funny that every time you kill one of their spies, which is what happens when your spy like successfully intercepts them trying to steal one of your technologies. If you have a spy on defense and they catch them, they will the enemy spy gets killed. And so the fact that the AIs then, if you catch their spy, will come to you and play the screen that happens when you wipe them out of the game. Which gets pretty funny sometimes, especially in the case of Willem Vanaranya, who we're currently playing as, William Orange. He comes in, and his monologue, his defeated monologue, is actually what was reportedly his last words when he was assassinated. Willem Vanaranya, he was shot by I forget exactly the motivations of the shooter. Maybe it was it a Spanish loyalist? Maybe can't remember. Anyway, he was shot and assassinated, and purportedly his last words that those are what he speaks here in the game. I can't remember the speech verbatim offhand, so I don't want to quote it just in case I get it wrong. It's something like, my God, what will now happen to my poor people?" or something like that. That's the gist of it. I'll have to look that up as well. Let me see. Let me just bring it up here while we're probably should be focusing on the game footage here, but let me just bring it up. Sorry for the typing noises. And yeah. Yeah, you can see here our spy there, Anka, has been she got promoted because killing enemy spies will actually promote your spies, so they're more effective at their job in the future. Very useful. Let's see. William's last words supposedly were, my God, have pity on me and these poor people." Okay, it's so close like that. But what's funny, of course, is that he actually said them in French, supposedly, because the actual historical William Warren, William the First, he was William the First of the Netherlands, also known as William the Silent. He actually spoke like barely a word of Dutch. His portrayal here in Civ 5 is not really accurate, shall we say. So those last words would have been his last words were would have been spoken in French. Now the accuracy of those claims is not completely verifiable, so we're not sure if he actually said that or if that's people sort of what's the word? If the word for like when people try to make them out like to be like a hero after they die. There's a word. It's like is it Haji something? You know, like saints like Hajiifying, maybe no. Anyway, that word, yeah. So they don't know if it's them doing that or not. Well, there we go. That's us. We spread our religion around we spread it down to Novgorod there in Russia because there was very little point at the time trying to spread it to city-states because the Hiawatha had such a firm grasp religion-wise on the city-states. And you can see there that's him sending his great prophet around there, that little unit in Hiawatha's colours with the triangle and the wee dove, that's a great prophet. And great prophets will completely ignore borders. People's borders. So there's the observatory there going into Amsterdam. You have to discover astronomy naturally to be able to build observatories. Surprising, absolutely. Well, a bit weird if you. There's a lot of cases in Civ 5 where you can build things without having like appropriate technologies that you think would be a prerequisite for it, like being able to research the internet without having discovered computers first. It's quite funny, but no, in this case it actually makes a lot of sense and everything. So. A lot more planning and tile yields there, working out exactly what to be doing with Rotterdam. A lot of discussion about it. See here, our trireme has now reached the limits of its exploration that we can actually do without, unless we got open borders with Haile Selassie. That's as far as our trireme can go. The polars continue to be installed. That takes a while to build that many polars all along the river, so it's, I don't think we even get all of them up before we actually discover economics, and economics is when polars get a big boost. They after the discovery economics, they get +1 hammers and +2 gold. And So we're starting to research towards that here. See there, that's theology, stolen theology, being a tech. Somebody managed to actually get their spy and have them be successful. Civ 5 has a lot of technologies in it that are sort of more concepts and things. You couldn't really call them technologies, but they're there anyway. It's a little bit weird, and that's something they're changing for Civ 6. Actually, they announced that they're instead having sort of cultural ideas tree rather than a technological one. So it's split now. So it's not just everything science. You have science tree and a culture tree, which is very interesting. Looking forward to playing around with that. As our first great scientist, we are planting him down for an academy, which is absolutely what you should be doing with great scientists this early in the game, unless you're doing some sort of very specific early warfare rush strategy with a unique unit. Like if you have a unique unit that comes early enough, and you have a great scientist to spend. For example, I could certainly see you playing as Denmark if you got a start that provided suitable amounts of culture that you could actually go through the Liberty Tree fast enough for it. Denmark has a unique long swordsman that's unlocked at metal casting. I could certainly see you burning a great scientist to get metal casting really, really early so you could fling out your berserkers absurdly fast. But well, you'd have a hard time generating a great scientist that quickly. But there we go. You see, the trireme now useless to us. We gifted the city state because it was just costing us money to keep it around. So yeah, there you can see that's the unimproved yield of the gold tile. If we build a mine on it, you can. So we were working out whether we wanted to improve the gold first, increase the output of the gold towers, or just get the polars going in Utrecht. And of course, eventually the polars won out. Another spy. Yes, and you see here banking because we took the patronage tech tree or social policy tree, the patronage social policy tree. You once you discover banking, the wonder that is tied to the patronage tree is the Forbidden Palace. The Forbidden Palace gives you extra votes at the World Congress and decreases the amount of happiness that you get from non-puppeted cities. It's a very good wonder, and prior to Brave New World, if you were playing on any difficulty, even on King difficulty, sometimes you'd get beaten to it. You're playing on any of the higher difficulties prior to Brave New World, you'd literally never had a chance. The AI placed such a sort of ridiculously high priority on getting the Forbidden Palace, you just would not have a chance of getting it. Now, because you have to open the patronage tree to get it, if you have the AI still prioritizes it quite heavily, but if nobody's gone patronage, you can get the Forbidden Palace yourself. Or in this case, where we're very sort of ahead of the tech curve, we have a shot at it. Tile assignments in Rotterdam. We took one tile from Amsterdam there because Amsterdam's got enough tiles to work on its own and everything, and that farm tile is not one that's being improved by Petra. So there you have it, and that's it for this episode.